Ricky Gervais is back with his first stand-up special in 7 years, and this time he's taken on all of humanity. Please welcome back the fabulous and quite funny Ricky Gervais. So, before we get into what the special is about, the question everybody wanted me to ask you is, are you excited about the royal wedding?
You can't even say it with a straight face. Am I excited about the royal family?
Yeah.
No.
Wait, no, the royal wedding.
No, I'm not excited about it. Listen, I've got nothing against the royal family, but I don't like any of that sort of frivolous nonsense.
Right.
You know,
Nice.
I actually know William and Harry. They've come to about 2 or 3 of my gigs. You know, but no, I mean, it's on every paper all the time. My news show. It's like, oh no, I'm not interested at all.
I wonder, you know...
Thanks for asking.
Just on the same subject, though, when I was in England trying to do stand-up there, you can't say anything about the Queen. They have a fit, and they won't laugh. Is that true when you do it?
No, not anymore.
Not my crowd.
Well, it was then.
No. I mean, I think that, you know, I think that BBC are still a bit stuffy because they get complaints and, you know, they're a sort of government body, so they fear complaints, but live, no, anything, it's just, no.
Well, when you go on the Golden Globes, a lot of time you are politically incorrect and hilarious, of course.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
So this is...
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about offence, isn't it? When people say they're offended, it's that, just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right, you know? It's... offence is about feelings, and feelings are personal. Some people are offended by equality. So what? You know, so you can't second-guess people. If you try and please everyone, you'll please no one. With comedy as well, I think you've got to deal with taboos and contentious issues, and sometimes you deal in irony, and some people don't get that, but, you know, you can't legislate against stupidity, otherwise you'll be doing nothing. So if you're saying anything, you should polarise. You should polarise, because everyone's different, so...
But this year, you didn't host, and do you miss the fact that this was a Weinstein year?
Oh, I was salivating. Honestly, I got an adrenaline rush thinking of, you know, what I could say and whether I'd have to go to jail. And, you know, I like that opportunity because I do like that, you know, when there's a tension, when there's an elephant in the room, although he wasn't there this year. No, I do like that because I do like confronting that, because I think it takes the audience to a place it hasn't been before. And it can be a mutual backslapping, you know, fest, fine, but don't televise it, you know, because I'm not doing it for the 200 egos in the room. I'm doing it for the 200 million people watching around who aren't winning awards, who aren't millionaires, and who
don't care about the awards.
Right. Humanity, which we mentioned, is your first comedy special in 7 years, and you say that it's the right time for it, the subject matter. Why?
Yeah, well, I left it for 7 years, not on purpose. I was doing other things. I did a series, I did Derek, I did a couple of movies, and I pushed it back, because I always thought that stand-up was like the second or third thing I did, whereas now I've changed my mind. Now it's my favourite thing. I could give everything else up, because it's such a privilege, and freedom of speech is so important these days. And you've got to, you know... And I've reached the age now where I don't care anymore. You know what I mean? It's like,
welcome aboard,
what's the worst that can happen?
Welcome aboard.
I'm going to die soon.
Yeah.
So I'm offended. I'm going to die. So what? You know, so...
You made enough money at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm going to give that to animals anyway, just to see the look on my stupid family's face. Leave it all to animals.
And by the way, if Humanity is on Netflix, you're going to want to see it. So.
And you talk about your family in
I do. This is the most personal. Again, I think for the same reasons. You know, I think that it's nice to look back and it's a celebration. I talk about my mum and dad and who aren't with us anymore, and jokes about the mum and mum's funeral. You know, because that's what. I think that's what humour's for. It gets us over bad stuff. So it's a sin. Not to joke about all the bad things, that's a waste, because that's exactly what we should joke about.
I also feel that when you talk about people who have gone to the next world, whatever that is, that you're keeping them alive in a way.
Well, yeah, they exist.
They're still there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And, you know, I tell it, you know, there was a lot of truth, so I tell the truth, you know. It's not just this idealised view of your mum. You tell, you know, why... I remember when I was 12, I got older brothers and sisters, which is why I'm like I am, I suppose. I had to show off to be heard, right? And they're much older than me. They're like 11, 13 and 14 years older than me. And I remember when I was about 12, I said to my mum, why are my brothers and sisters so much older than me? And she said, you were a mistake.
And there you have it.
I just laughed.
You know, it's true, because sometimes it's also the way you can grieve. Because when my brother passed, I mean, when I started talking about it in my show, because it was like, I couldn't understand how he was more good-looking dead than I was alive.
That's great.
You know, I mean,
funny.
and people were like, really? I was like, yeah, because you gotta keep, you have to keep talking. You know, you have to keep talking to stay present.
Absolutely,
you know?
Make them part of the thing, and it is with affection. You know, I just think that it's like my mum would have loved it. You know,
And they're hilarious anyway.
well, it's
That's
funny.
why we're
Funny is funny.
Yeah.
Funny is funny. There's no time and a place for being funny. I know some things are sensitive, and you know, I think you have to respect that. And let's get this: I wouldn't be doing those jokes at someone else's mum's funeral.
You're doing
I
it at your
don't
own.
mind,
That's
you know,
right,
because I
that's
know
right.
that, you know.
Yeah.
So
Let's talk about your partner, Jane, because I've met Jane. She's a lovely person. You've been with her for how many years? 35?
30 years, yeah.
30
over
years.
30 years, yeah.
Not married yet, though.
No.
You're never going to get married.
No.
No.
He doesn't
point.
like any of that stuff.
There's no
Did you
point.
hear
Yeah. No, there's no, you know, we don't want our families to meet, and
But you've said that the key to a happy relationship is separate bathrooms, which I totally agree
that's
with.
a fact. That's a fact. Yeah.
And why is that?
One less argument, isn't it? So yeah, no, it's great. It's lovely to have your space, and no, it's brilliant. Yeah.
I know. I think so too. What about separate bedrooms now?
Oh no.
No.
Let's not get crazy, Joy.
I'm just asking.
No, you're really active on Twitter. You have 13 million followers, and you love to engage with trolls. It's a fun pastime for you.
Yeah.
You post unflattering photos of yourself, which I think we have, mostly in the bath. What is it with your bath obsession? What's going on here?
I love a bath. I think it's because when I was little, a bath was like a luxury. You know, we could afford like, you know, 2 a week each in the family. So now I think that's my luxury.
Now you're gluttonous, laying in the bath.
Honestly, my baths have got bigger and more luxurious. Yeah, I have 1 or 2 a day. And so I've got the iPhone. So I think, and it's great to look. You're in that position, and those are taken all around the world. There was Oslo, and I do a relevant, bath pic wherever I go.
They're very themed.
Do you think?
They're very themed, yeah.
Do you think that growing up poor like you did, and I grew up in a tenement, Whoopi grew up in a project.
I was just in Iowa, so.
She's from Iowa, whatever. Do you think that makes you funnier?
Well, I think so, because that was the thing about growing up. I was born into poverty and like welfare housing, and my dad was a labourer, mum was a housewife, and I was the youngest of 4. But the point was to, pay your way, then have a laugh.
Yeah.
And that was the men. The women carried on working, obviously. Yeah, it was everything.
Survival.
It was survival. You laugh at everything. It gets you over it, and if you can laugh in the face of adversity, you're bulletproof.
And also, if you can make your parents laugh.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can make their day better.
Absolutely. We would tease them and everything, and they loved it. Yeah.
Come back sooner than 7 years, please.
Yeah, really.
Who knows if any of us will be here? Come back sooner.
You can sit there by yourself.
Humanity is available now on Netflix. Check it out, please. You will laugh, and you might even shed a tear.
It's so funny.
We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Rapid, in fact, a massive inflation in genders. At one point, biologists were allowed to determine what biology was, and there were 2, male and female. Now there's agender, bigender, two-spirit, hydra. We could go on forever, literally forever, because the core orthodoxy is that there are infinite genders, but not everyone agrees. Some people believe in science at their peril, it turns out. Lake Engel is one of them. He's a student at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. In a religion class, a class about Christianity, he stated his belief that there are 2 genders because, again, that's biology. And for that, he was told he had to apologize in front of the class, stand silently while they critiqued him with education camp stuff. Lake Engel joins us tonight. Lake, thanks for coming up.
Thanks for having me, Tucker.
So I don't know if I was mischaracterizing that. You had this professor called Allison Downey who was so threatened because you disagreed with her that she tried to get you to sign some form apologizing for your unorthodox, non-allowed thoughts, and then what happened?
Right, yeah, she asked that I would sign a document complying with her asking me to apologize to the class as well as giving her a written apology. She asked that I would stand in front of the class in silence as I apologized, and then they would give any comments on my outbursts.
Did she say what specifically she was so offended by?
She didn't like the fact that I disagreed with the subject being pushed in class being more than one gender, male privilege, systemic sexism, and mansplaining.
Is mansplaining a measurable thing? I mean, is it a like species of social science studying mansplaining? What is mansplaining anyway? Do you know? Did you learn?
I'm not sure. I think it's any time a man speaks, really.
Huh.
And
so
no, it isn't measurable.
What did you, right, I mean, it's a species of dumbness, really. So, but what did you, it's propaganda, what did you say about gender that made her so mad, specifically?
Well, I first referenced entities like The Economist who have debunked the myth of the 77 cents on the dollar wage gap. And I also stated that biologists don't agree that there are more than two genders. They don't believe that there are 72 genders or more across the board. Most of them disagree. And she really didn't appreciate that.
So by citing the longstanding view of biologists, the hard scientists, Allison Downey, who supposedly, you say she's a professor, tried to get you to stand in front of the class and take abuse. Did you do that?
No, I didn't. I was supposed to, but she really didn't give me a chance. I was given 10 days to comply, but the day after she asked this of me, she decided to push it on through to the university's provost office to then hold a hearing, which would decide whether or not it could be allowed in class, period.
Why do you go to this school? Or why does anybody go to this school or any other school? I mean, what are you getting out of this, exactly?
Well, I initially went for athletics my freshman year, but that's a long-gone dream now. I'm pretty much just stuck here.
Man, I wish I could hire you. I would encourage you and anyone else who has any experience like this to drop out and join the workforce. It's not worth it. This is a joke. It's a bubble, and we're all going to realize that in 10 years. Like, you're a brave man for coming on. I appreciate it. Thank you.